There's an element in film noir, the way light and shadow is used in such extreme contrast, that is almost religious or spiritual or philosophical.
See any better this way?
The age-old Manichaeist dialectic of light against dark, good against evil.
You can turn it off now, Buster. You're wasting your battery.
And when you look at the film noir film, the lighting complements that. Light sources themselves become part of the content of the scene.
Susie, what are you doing here in the dark?
Very bright, hot sources and very deep, deep shadows.
Well, can we turn the light on now?
No, we can't.
Because of all the things that had happened during the war, the development of faster film stocks, the development of portable cameras, smaller dollies, more contained lighting units, it was possible to go out at night on the streets using the lights in a very controlled, dramatic way. The sense of the frame, the world being essentially black, which it is at night, and what you see is what you choose to define and pick out with a little bit of light. And this became a signature of film noir. There's almost a giddy euphoria of being able to use lights and the dramatic use of lights in those late 40s, early 50s films.
Turn on the lights again, Cora, please.
All right, where's your mother?
We wanted to spend as little time with the mechanics, lighting a set, that kind of thing, setups, to give ourselves more time with the actors to get the best possible scenes out of them. With film noir, what we did is, you want to light that? Throw a shadow on it. Get a gobo, and that's all. The shadow did it.
It's the perfect externalization of those characters, a trapped character. There is no light, there is no release, there is no escape. Things are very terrifying and mysterious if you can't see them. So your imagination is forced to take over, which I think is probably the key to how noir material works on the subconscious.
In here, Walter.
A lighting technique that became a signature of the noir films was the use of the Venetian blind, which was a very effective and quick way for the director of photography to create an interesting and unusual lighting pattern on an otherwise blank wall, and would create very interesting psychological effects depending upon the way they were slanted and adjusted. Almost universally in noir films, you see a tremendous sparseness in the production design. Sets have very simple and functional furniture. The walls tend to be just painted flats. They have the visual environment to create a tremendous sense of dramatic isolation and alienation. And that was part of the whole conceit of noir, using lighting techniques to alter the space psychologically.
You can't underestimate the German influence in it all, and all the German expatriates who were filling the ranks of the Hollywood crafts and as well as directors and writers.
They brought with them both a dramatic and a visual tradition that was very different from, say, the more vaudeville or the more showman type tradition that had been reflected in American films at the time. Fritz Lang did a trilogy of, I guess you could say, early gangster films, the Mabuza trilogy, which had a tremendous influence not only in German cinema, but I think also in this country. Even going back before that, the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, sets were built in false perspective, tremendous sense of light and dark contrast, tilted angles, foregrounding of objects. These themes became very prominent, I think, in film noir.
Objects are not things that happen to be in a room. Objects are things that we deal with in living. So Floors are objects. The position of people towards each other are objects. When you make a movie, you are paying attention to everything all the time, or else you're not making a movie. What you're doing is just photographing something.
What are you trying to do?
We're trying to strap you to the electric chair.
We don't like it when innocent people are blown to jelly in our town.
Noir photography really was concerned with showing characters in environment.
We'll make you pay for that.
They're trying to railroad me. I don't know why. I never stole any dynamite.
So the deep focus, foreground and background focus being equally sharp, and a tremendous wide visual field opening up behind the actors gave a tremendous sense of environment and became a very strong element in the noir vocabulary.
Take him in, book him.
Let's go. You say you found this dynamite in the bathroom?
Well, Pete found it to show him the
Hey,
dynamite.
Pete. Can't you do something to help me?
Deep focus was used in conjunction with wide-angle lenses. It was also used as an economical way of staging a scene without having to do a lot of coverage. A foreground actor would appear quite close to camera. A background actor would come in. They might play a dialogue scene in one shot. The two actors not looking at each other. Foreground actor looking out this way. The background actor looking at the back of the foreground actor's head. They really can't see each other, but they're playing a scene together.
I'm here to arrest you, am I?
It's fine for the audience because the audience can see both actors quite clearly.
May I ask what for?
And the conceit seemed to work. Of course, it wouldn't work today because you'd want to see close-ups, you'd want to see the actors turn to each other. But it was a quite common method of shooting sometimes a 3-4 minute scene in one shot because they had very short shooting schedules.
Get the young lady.
Yes, sir.
Anybody who was making a big picture wanted to make 8 pictures. So what we were trying to do was to impress somebody, usually the executives of the studio. And you couldn't usually impress them with the subject matter, because it was usually pretty trite. You couldn't impress them with the acting, which was not usually of the best. But you could impress them with setups, for instance. I learned about setups on big pictures primarily because I had to be inventive as hell. I wanted the executives who were looking at the rushes the next day to look and say, hey, that guy's got, that guy really knows where to put his camera.
I hope it's not too crowded.
Joe Lewis was wonderful with setups, absolutely wonderful.
They took a stretch-out Cadillac, and they removed everything from the back of it. And in it, they laid down a 2x12 board. On top of that, they put a little hi-hat in the camera. And then they put a jockey's seat for the operator. The microphones were the first time they've ever used them, were button microphones. We had them all over the place, inside, outside, and then strapped to the top, we had 2 sound men with fish poles that were stretched way out with mics.
Okay.
I got the 2 of them together, and I said, you know what you're up to. You're going to run into town, look for a parking space. He's going to go in the bank. He's going to rob the bank. A policeman's going to come out. You're going to knock him on the head and get away. That's all. Whatever dialogue you want between us, whatever comes up, that's how you react.
Hi.
Well, it's a nice get-up.
I like it.
Good-looking gun.
Thanks.
That's English, ain't it?
That's right.
What show you with?
Cheyenne Rodeo.
I was supposed to shoot that and had a 4-day schedule. We shot it in about 3 hours. And far better, I'm sure, than what was broken down on the script with the interior of the bank and the people laying down in the bank and the guys holding their hands up and all that jazz. We left it entirely to the audience's imagination and suggestion.
Stay in the car.
The shot was so real that people on the street yelled, they held up the bank. And we kept on going, photographing as we went. The shot took 2 miles. 2 miles. and without a cut.
Will you? Is there anything in back of us?
A large portion of the Hollywood technical community had learned documentary technique working either within the United States or for various branches of the armed forces. So they were just more schooled in how to shoot in a more raw, less studio-bound, less stylized fashion. I also think that the experience of the American public with documentaries during the war led to a greater acceptance of semi-documentary or realist techniques in fiction films.
Shooting on location, it's a must for film noir because film noir is reality. It's reality as is.
I just kept going